On one of our top stories at this hour, former acting director of national intelligence Rick Grenell declassifying transcripts of Michael Flynn's calls with a former Russian ambassador. Now it's up to the new spy chief, John Ratcliffe, to make a decision as to whether or not to make those documents public. I want to bring in Sol Wisenberg, former deputy independent counselor in the Whitewater investigation and a Fox News contributor. And Sol, welcome back here and good afternoon to you. A lot of these conversations, late 2016, during the transition period, will we see them? And if so, what do you think they'll show us?
I think you will see them, particularly the December 29th conversation between General Michael Flynn and Ambassador Kislyak about the Obama sanctions and the expulsions of diplomats. And I think that people, both sides will try to spin it, but I think people will look at it, fair-minded people, and say there's no way that these conversations were illegal or improper in any way. My God, he's the incoming national security advisor for the new administration. Now, I've heard there's some other documents that will shed light on how allegedly on how the intelligence information was manipulated to begin the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. I'm very interested in those. I have no idea what they're talking about. So fun things to come.
Yeah, at the same time, you have Judge Sullivan now who's asking for a lawyer to come in and argue the case against why DOJ should go ahead and throw the case out against Michael Flynn. These stories are running concurrently. What is the judge up to and Judge Sullivan?
Well, first of all, your viewers need to know this order from the D.C. Circuit, very, very unusual. And remember, there's a petition for writ of mandamus in front of the D.C. Circuit. That's an extraordinary remedy. It's almost never granted. And so this is filed by Michael Flynn's lawyer a couple of weeks ago, and the D.C. Circuit, the panel, issues an order personally to the judge and says, you have 10 days to respond on the following issue, which is the Fokker opinion, which I've talked about several times, which basically says to a judge, when the government files a motion to dismiss a prosecution, your function is ministerial and you have to dismiss. So I think what they're saying is, Judge, what are you doing? You better explain to us what you're doing. It's kind of I interpret it as a flashing neon sign, as a friend of mine said, or a wake-up call to him. Explain to us what you're about, because the moves he has made have been very, very unusual.
Okay, so what is Judge Sullivan's endgame here? Does he bring the lawyers in? Does he bring Michael Flynn in before his court? Could he do that?
Well, what you would normally expect to happen in this situation is certainly he's the judge. They have to have leave of court. He would hold some kind of a hearing. He could make some comments. If he didn't like it, he can even issue an opinion. What under the law he can't do, I believe, is to drag the process out for months, which it looked like he was about to do. He appointed an amicus, which is highly unusual. He called for amicus briefs to be filed after for the last few years he said, I'm not going to accept any. So there's no question that what he seemed to be doing was delaying this process, and the court seems to be saying, the higher court, the D.C. Court of Appeals seems to be saying, you're going against clear law here. What are you doing? You have to remember, Judge Sullivan is very popular among the bar in D.C. for some good reasons. He overturned the conviction in the Ted Stevens case. He helped expose the prosecutorial misconduct in this case. He became kind of a celebrity in legal circles for good reason, for basically forcing the government to start providing mitigating information. So he's kind of used to that celebrity status. And when he started to appoint this judge as an amicus and delay this process, he was praised in the press. The only problem is the law doesn't let him do it. So as one of my friends said, he's a celebrity, but he's a celebrity in trouble. And he needs a very good lawyer like Beth Wilkinson to help explain to the Court of Appeals just what the heck he's doing.
Maybe by mid-June we get an answer on that. Quickly, I just said the Department of Justice today, they're putting a lot of pressure on Nevada to go ahead and open up more churches. Do you think they can be successful on that, as we've seen a loosening and a challenge, in different states across different faiths, Sol?
Well, the Department of Justice doesn't like to lose on civil rights cases. And Nevada got a letter from my friend Eric Dryband, who is head of the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Justice. So if they're not treating religious institutions the same as they are treating other institutions as part of the reopening, they could face some problems. It won't be an order from the president, it'll be a lawsuit from the Department of Justice.
Okay, thank you, Sol. We'll track that as well. Sol Wisenberg running down a lot of things today. Nice to see you, and thank you for your time.
Nice to be here.